I hope that you are doing well. It's always great when you can be here on If You Don't Like That. Not only do we have the Olympics going on in full force, but we have got the National Football League, albeit it is the first preseason game, the Hall of Fame game, which means you don't want to get too excited. But there is a new wrinkle to the NFL this year, and the newer wrinkle is the kickoff. And we saw it tonight for the first time in the National Football League. So with that said, I want to get your reaction as we welcome you here to the stream. And Ryno, it's good to have you on. And I hope that you had a good show this afternoon at 2 o'clock. What are your first impressions after seeing the new kickoff?
Grant, I like it. There's more, you got to be strategic. The kickers are now closer to golfers. And not only that, you got the teams close together within that small boundary, about 5 yards. So it's almost like a jet sweep play. So it's enjoyable, better than just seeing the ball kick through the end zone 78% of the time.
I agree with you. Put the ball in play. It will also be very interesting. You know, the coaches are so innovative, and they'll think outside the box.
Certainly.
As this thing goes on. I just wonder at what point will we start seeing some trick plays from the receiving team that we haven't even thought of right now? Because you know, at some point it will evolve, and we'll see it.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably the first quarter of the season, somebody will throw that out. Definitely not preseason, or you wouldn't be smart to do that anyways. But you've got a couple guys that are allowed to be behind the line, and then you have the receiver. So who knows? You could do a couple of different things, fake reverse, etc. But Andy Reid, they always have lab down there in Kansas City, so I'm sure he'll be ahead of the curve.
It's a good point. And, you know, the one thing I think it's pretty obvious just based on physics, it will reduce the injuries that we see on kickoffs.
Yes, absolutely. Now, conversely, Grant, we may see the penalties go up because it becomes more of a traditional blocking play, closer to that.
Yes, I do agree with that. But as you said, there were so many kickoffs last year that were a formality that it was a touchback because all the kickers now kick the ball through the end zone.
Yeah, and to a degree, Grant, it changes, it opens things up for people that want to be kickers, as crazy as it sounds, because now it's not about the strongest leg. It's where can you place the ball exactly where you want to if you're the defense.
And the other aspect that is going to really factor into this, well, when we get later in the year, when we get cold weather and wind for the teams that are playing outdoors.
Absolutely. That certainly will play a role. We saw a little bit of that with the Hall of Fame game. They had a 12th player on to hold the ball. And then, believe it or not, Grant, he waves back at his family, runs off the field. I'm in the NFL. Get my picture.
So what you're telling me is there is a chance, right?
There is a chance.
Even at my advanced age, maybe I could be that individual.
Hey, you know, Napes, if you could play the postage stamp, I'm pretty sure you might be able to hold football. You know,
I think so. If I can get out of the coffin bunker, all right, and make no worse than a bogey, then I think I could do that. Right?
Yes, indeed, my friend. We want to hear from all of you. First night of football, yes, not official season, but there was a decent first half offensively, so we enjoyed that. Let's kick it off with Tin. Good evening, Tin.
Good evening, Ryno. Grant, how are you? And I want to know, yes, Grant, I have a question because yesterday, you guys mentioned the Brooklyn Dodgers, and I just found out a fact that in 1945, they signed Jackie Robinson. Now, he didn't make his debut until almost 2 years after that. What was that gap for?
I believe it was for World War II, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. See, that's cool, Grant, because a war event.
I'll look it up. I believe it was the end of the war. I'll look it up. I don't off the top of my head. Ryno will look it up for us. But I was talking about the Brooklyn Dodgers and the New York Giants and the New York Yankees, and how back in that era, if you were a baseball fan growing up in the area of New York, it was a smorgasbord of baseball. I mean, you had the Dodgers, the Giants, and the Yankees all in the same metropolitan area, which was quite remarkable.
Okay.
A lot of baseball, indeed.
Wow. Okay. So it's not just earthquakes in San Francisco that are stoppage of World Series, but also events in
Oh no,
globally.
World War II. Uh, I mean, you can go back and look at all of the great athletes of that time that their careers were put on hold because of their service to the war. I mean, many of the great athletes that we still talk about today served in the war. So absolutely, yes, no question. And here's something else. I mean, even Roger Staubach, who came out of the Naval Academy, had to have his NFL career put on hold for a couple of years to serve his mandatory duty.
Awesome. Thanks for the info, guys. And I guess this is a man-made, of course. Now it's two humans, two sides deciding about war. However, sports can be halted, everyday lifestyle, such as the pandemic halting sports and everyday lifestyle.
Yep.
Change. Yep.
Listen, you're spot on. Thank you very much for the call. We are in some very tense times right now, and I think that regardless of what corner of the globe you live on, you should be concerned about what's going on as the domino effect to everyday life. But good point. Thank you for calling the show.
Thanks. Have a
Thanks,
great night.
Dan.
But I mean,
Good.
back in that era, a lot of things were put on hold. I mean, I used to talk to my aunt about this. My dad didn't really talk that much about the war, but my aunt told me that basically everyone stopped what they were doing, everyone, and went to work for the country, whether it was in the factory or garment
Exactly.
district, or it didn't matter what you were working for your country and for winning the war in whatever role you could have. You didn't have to necessarily be overseas fighting. My aunt, for instance, stopped exactly what she was doing and ended up working in a factory during that time.
It's a fabulous point, Grant. That you have to produce so much, not just the weapons, the meals, everything that goes along with it that the troops need. And at that time, USA, there's a lot of stuff made here, a lot more made here than around the world.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. No question.
Definitely. So we bring in Jay. Welcome in tonight, Jay.
What's going on, guys? I have a rant. I was itching to get in here.
Yes, Jay, I want to hear your rant.
I think it's quite interesting. So to a deaf ear or just to the average listener, there is a lot of controversy going on right now in the Olympics with a female boxer named Iman Khalif, who's from Algeria.
Mm-hmm.
She was boxing a Italian opponent. I don't remember her name, but 45 seconds into the fight, the Italian opponent resigned from the fight. She said she had never been hit that hard in her life. Genetic testing shows that the Algerian woman has an XY chromosome. And for those who don't know what that means on a book, in your textbook, it teaches you men or males can only have an XY chromosome. Now, that is on a book. And I think the issue is a lot of people forget that there is an exception to each rule. So looking at it from the average viewer, it sounds like a trans woman is fighting a biological female. I'm against that. I'm not for that. I don't think that
Everyone should be against that.
yes,
No one should ever be for that.
That is not the case. People have to dig deeper and do their research. So it was discovered that the Algerian boxer was actually born biologically female, has female anatomy, can bear children like a biological female, has menstrual cycles like a biological female.
Then
She
she's a
just has
female in my book.
Yeah, she just has a genetic abnormality that has her having an extra chromosome, and people can't wrap their head around this concept, but it's no different from children who are born with Down syndrome. They have genetic mutations as well.
Great point.
So I would love to get your thoughts on that, both of you guys.
I think if you're able to bear a child from your body, okay, you're female. You're female. All right. I don't care what your chromosomes say. If you're able to give birth, all right, menstruate, have a baby, and as you said, are born
with female anatomy
as your anatomy, then you're a female. Now, I'm not a doctor. I'm talking purely 100% common sense here.
Yeah,
Ryno?
Right, so
I'm
go ahead.
completely on the same page. I think it's that thing where you automatically see it and
And
you
it's
wait or you
yeah,
don't wait, I should say, and you
you like
automatically jump
mhm.
to conclusions.
Yeah.
But can you blame people for jumping to conclusions? Did you watch the opening ceremony? If you don't pay attention to what the rules are in the Olympics, then it's a little bit murky. Now, to your point, Jay, it's an excellent one because there's other nuances to that as well. There's other situations that can occur where that happens with the
Yes.
chromosomes. So you do have
And
to take a step.
it's a lot more common than people
It,
think. Like
it,
if you're born deaf, like congenital deafness, most of those children actually have 90% of them come from both hearing parents. It just is it's just
All right.
just like if someone that you know got cancer, it can be caused from a genetic mutation later on in life.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
There's no, as much as we want to say it's black and white, it's not, and that's why there's exceptions to every rule.
well, isn't there this thing? That person didn't make a choice to be born that way. And I know
I
that is
feel so bad for her because it's like that's how she was born. She had no control over it, and now she's
And she
gonna get
deserves to be able to compete. It's not like she should have her athletic ambition taken away
right. And then what are
over
you gonna
that.
do? Put her in there with the men, and then she's getting manhandled in there? That's not fair to her either, So I'm not really for the trans. If you were born a male and you are transitioning, even with hormonal replacement, I'm not really for that. I think that
I'm not either.
no.
I think that
especially in a
I don't
sport
think
where you're
anybody should
hitting,
be for
like,
that.
yeah, I'm not for that. But when you dig deeper and you discover these type of things, and I watched a review, this YouTube guy, he's a doctor. I don't know if you heard of him, but he covers sports injuries like as soon as they happen, and he
I know who
goes,
you're talking about.
yeah.
Jay.
So watching that is a very informative piece of information for the average viewer to watch because they're not thinking of it from like a medical literature standpoint.
Are you talking about Dr. Chow, the football doctor, or are you talking about another individual?
Different guy.
His name
Oh,
is
okay.
Brian Sutter, I think. He
Okay.
did like the DeMar Hamlin as soon as
Oh,
it
okay.
happened,
Okay.
Aaron
Okay.
Rodgers, all of
Okay.
it. He does it as soon as it happens.
Okay.
But
It's an
obviously,
interesting. First of all, I really appreciate you bringing that to the table,
oh yeah, I
especially
couldn't wait. I had to get in
the
here.
way you presented it, and you were able to put it in the layman terms, so that I think you did a great job with that, Jay.
Yeah, I mean, it's a sensitive subject for a lot of people. I don't know
Yes.
who's listening, so I don't like we talked about earlier. It's how you say it too. So I wanted to come off,
Sure.
You did a great job, but
informative.
here's the other deal. You hit it right on the head. It is a sensitive topic, and so therefore, I think that if someone has a different opinion, I'm going to welcome them on the show, and I'm not going to berate them, or I'm not going
I agree.
to. I'm going to listen to their point of view, and respectfully probably disagree with it. But everyone has a right to an opinion. However,
Right.
you will never convince me, okay, that a trans woman, okay, a biological man should be allowed to play and compete in women's sports. You will never convince me of that.
Especially in a high contact, in a combat sport. This is a combat. You're hitting people. You're trying to knock them out. That's
Any
definitely any sport. But yes, I agree. Any sport for sure. This happened, I think, 12 years ago. I forgot the name. If you want to Google that, Ryno, I know you get on that quick. But she was a track star, and she didn't have the genetic abnormality in her chromosomes, but she did have higher testosterone levels than the average female, which allowed her to basically get barred from that competition. So that's kind of another. This isn't like new. Like this has happened. And if you think about like the competitors out there that compete at the highest level, especially with female sports with less demand for other females wanting to compete, it's actually more common to run into that than you would think, if that abnormality, because it's such a like less crowd of people who are actually competing.
Well, Jay, if we even want to take it out of that arena, what about Oscar Pistorius? He was born with an abnormality, right? And there was people when he was running in the Olympics saying do the blades make him faster? Is that fair? Should he be able to run?
Oh, he had blade like on his legs. Like,
Correct. Yes, and he competed with the
Oh.
rest of the men. So it's a nuanced debate across the board with abnormality.
Didn't they say wasn't the same
Yes, I've
type
struggled on
of
that word.
advantage talked about with Michael Phelps having to do something with the webbing in his feet or something that was different? They gave him.
That's a bunch of horse crap.
I know, but that's what people were talking about during the Olympics, though, right? I mean, so people are always bringing stuff up. You know, the reason why I'm mentioning that, this isn't the first time we're hearing things of this nature.
No.
Yeah, I agree. And you know what makes this one more amplified is because this has been a topic for the past like 5 years. You know, should trans women, example male to female transitioning, should they be allowed to compete in women's sport? And so that's why this one has been kind of amplified to this extent. And you know, it happened recently, so you have another underlying issue to this is the misinformation that's being spread by Elon Musk, the owner of Twitter, by, you know, all these guys with humongous platforms, you know, Pat McAfee, whatever the guy's McAfee, McFrappe, I don't know, but you're having a lot of misinformation on these humongous platforms that's being spread, and it's kind of it's so sad to see in a way, because you have to have empathy for both fighters in this scenario, and it's a tough situation because sure, you can look at it like, yeah, it probably is an advantage, but like you said, Ryno, she has no control over how she was born. Or would that be like, it's a spectrum too? It's different for each person born with that abnormality. If you want to know what it's called, it's like disordered gender syndrome or something like that. The acronym is DSD, if you guys wanted to look into that. But essentially that's what it is. But it's a spectrum, just like children born with Down syndrome. They have that same not the same chromosome, but they have on the same type of abnormality level. It's on a chromosomal level. That's a spectrum within itself. There are functional children who have Down syndrome, and then there are children with Down syndrome who need care for the rest of their lives. So not in every case it's an advantage. That's my point. So pretty much. It's
I mean, even Dan Orlovsky for ESPN is under great fire. He has since deleted his social media post in regards to the topic that we're talking about. And he wrote on his social media post, "Protect our daughters."
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you're looking it up, Grant. Some of the comments about it. Yeah. And just to re-clarify for people who just joined, this is not a transgender woman. This is a biological female from the anatomical standpoint. So female anatomy, can have children, has a menstrual cycle, just born with a genetic abnormality. Because I'm sure there's people coming in and they've heard of it. I just want to make that very clear.
Yep. And I'm going to read one paragraph. The likes of Logan Paul and Pat McAfee, among others, have expressed their doubts, though Paul later put forth a partial apology and pleaded a degree of ignorance.
Which is honorable. It was kind of funny because he said oopsies. I think that was his. See, that was kind of like, you know, but at least he owned up to it.
All right, I'm going to read this headline from Douglas Murray, an opinion piece in the New York Post. Brutal, unfair, Olympic beating, tragic result of letting biological men compete in women's sports. That's the headline.
Oscar De La Hoya said this.
I'm reading it verbatim. Here's the first paragraph. Do you enjoy watching men beating up women? I don't. Any exceptions? Not that I can think of. That's the way this individual began his column.
Oscar De La Hoya said something very similar, like pretty much, why are men fighting women? Like, why has it come to this? And I think in a way, being misinformed is almost a case. I don't want to sound like an advocate for like civil rights or anything, but now it's kind of like discriminatory, because now you really are like, not because you're ignorant to what is really going on and you're just seeing what you see on the internet. You are now intentionally misgendering that person and calling them something that they aren't. And like the connotation that this is a man, and now that, first of all, that's disrespectful if it's not a man. Okay, that's very disrespectful to call a woman a man. That's number one. And then number two, you're discrediting their accomplishments of where they have gotten because you think that they're something they're not.
Well,
And
Jay,
that's not the case.
Jay, I'm going to take it a step further. She's at the Olympics to box. You know, there is an expectation of some privacy in America. We have HIPAA, right? And now that's
another great point, Ryno. That's
her
a great
entire
point.
Medical record, everything, out there for the world, no choice, and had to defend herself.
That's crazy that you bring that up too. I was thinking that when I was reading through the literature and things like that, and it's like, it's embarrassing. How would you? I know we can't necessarily relate to them, but how would you feel when now the whole world thinks you're something that you're not, and you have to explain yourself, and you still have, I mean, you have pictures as a 1-year-old, 2-year-old dressed up in dresses. Like, what do you want to take a peek for yourself and verify if this is, you know what I mean? Like, does it really have to get that far?
Yeah.
Sometimes it seems like we do. Yes.
You guys
but
are
there
having
you go
big
to your
dialogue.
point, Ryno. The HIPAA, the privacy. Like, what are you going to take a picture of yourself naked and post it on the internet? Or, well, even then they're going to be like, well, she cut her thing off.
Photoshop.
I know.
Yeah.
Here's the last paragraph of the column. Who knows if or when this madness might end? But for anyone who thinks this is good, just remember there are prisons all over the land with men in them who've beaten up women.
Wow.
You may get away with exercising this in plain sight today, but you won't forever. That's pretty harsh right there. I'll tell you that.
Very harsh. And I'm not against, I think it's, if you're born a male, I'm pretty sure we all are kind of on the same page with this. You should not be in any sport, especially a contact sport, but any sport, to Grant's point, competing against women. Amen. Biologically born with female anatomy. If you were born with a male's anatomy, you should not, because there are, even to the bone structure level. If I were to become a doctor, I told my mom this, I'd become an endocrinologist, which is the study of hormones in the endocrine system. So I have a huge interest in this. But even males, like the bone density of a male is extremely stronger than a female's, biologically speaking. Like, being exposed to that through puberty is already an advantage. Even if you try to add as much estrogen as you want to become a female, you still have matured bone density, which just makes you more physically durable. There's an advantage whether you suppress it or not. So I agree.
What do you want to do with your career? Where do you want to be in 5 years?
So I want to be a software developer. I'm into tech and stuff like that, but I do have a huge interest in like reading medical literature, biology, and things like that. But software developing, so like working for YouTube, even like programming for them, helping them improve artificial intelligence and their algorithm, things like that. I do want to get my master's degree in it once I finish. I have like 2 more years left.
Well, Jay, those two things don't have to be mutually exclusive. You could find a way.
There's a lot of tech and medical things going on. Yeah.
Absolutely.
I know. I would love an opportunity to go to medical school if I could, but it's expensive, and I know I want to get an upper level education, so I figured I'd be the first in my family with the higher degree and get.
You know what? Congratulations to you.
Great job.
I tell you, when you get your master's degree, you got to come to right. You're going to come to Koh and you can meet me there and we'll celebrate.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
How beautiful is that?
They should have a league out there in Thailand. There's a bunch of lady boys.
Hold up, Grant. Jay had homework last night. Let's see if he did his homework before we start.
It's an island that like connects to another little island. There's like a walkway. It's like a beach walk. It was gorgeous.
Yeah.
Good man. Love it.
Of course. Yeah.
I'm just Jay. I'm putting ideas in your head for when you want to venture on a worldwide trip.
Oh,
you know,
that's the beautiful thing about. Oh, I thought you were talking about tech, but yeah, that's definitely on the list. But I was going to say about technology, it's everywhere. Like doctors, when you're even to the point where you're checking in for your appointment or you're messaging through a website now through your doctor. So I like both. But
Jay, half the time doctors are not actually performing the surgery; they're working on a machine
the robotics
that is performing the surgery. Yeah, it's incredible.
So. That's my goal. I figured it's the highest return on investment. You know, I don't have to go $250,000 into debt, and I can start making decent money out of school doing that.
Major props to you, Jay. I'm rooting for you, buddy. I'm rooting for you.
I appreciate that. I'm rooting for you guys. Let's grow. Everybody
Yeah.
subscribe, like, comment, share.
Let's go.
Yeah, well, you can take your wisdom and help our channel. How's that? Okay, you're my
Of
new
course.
analytics and my new put some ideas in my head, man. Okay, that's your job now.
That's a perfect title, especially with tech. There's this thing called
Yes.
data analytics, and you look at the facts. That's why, know your facts, people.
Jay,
Thank
I
you.
appreciate you. Thank you for calling. That was a phenomenal conversation. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. You guys should talk about this too tomorrow, or maybe I'll bring it up again just in case a new crowd of people come in, and I'm sure it'll catch a lot more fire this evening. So,
and all right, what would happen? What's going to happen if this individual wins gold medal?
They can't anymore. They had to step down.
Oh, I didn't even see that. Is that right?
Yeah, they had to step down.
I'm sorry, I missed that. I totally missed that. That's on me. That's bad job by Mr. Napier.
Jay, correct me if I'm wrong. The other boxers were not going to fight her, correct?
There was actually, what's funny? There was another boxer. I forgot. I don't know. Please, I think it might have been Taiwan, but it was of Asian descent that also had a similar disorder or a mutation who had to step down.
Yes.
But
that's correct.
Yes, I think I have to look into that part, Ryno, but I wouldn't be surprised to see someone take a strike and all the females are like, "Hey, we're not boxing this."
That's right. There are two athletes that are in the same category here, and you're absolutely correct. I read about that. I might have read about that earlier today. I did not see though that the individual we're talking about is no longer in the competition. I'm sorry.
That's unfortunate. I mean, and make sure you take a look at
the Taiwanese.
Named
Lin Yu Ting. Also,
there was no way on earth I was remembering that one. So I just said Taiwan. Okay.
Yep.
From Taiwan. There you go. But Ryno, what was it? 12 years ago, I think her name was Serene something. I forgot where she was, from an African country.
Mm-hmm.
She had a similar issue. If you wanted to take a peek at that and bring that up to Grant later.
Yeah, I will check that out, my friend.
All right.
Thank you, bud.
Have a great rest of the show. I'll stick around.
Appreciate you, Jay.
All right.
Again, I didn't see that both. It says here, Lynn's first bout of the Paris Olympics. Oh, no. I don't know. Whatever. Listen, this is a topic that's not going away anytime soon.
Yeah. I guess here's the problem with reporting, right? I don't want to defend the New York Post gentleman, because I'm not looking at the time of his article.
And it's labeled as an opinion piece. It's an opinion piece.
Okay. It's a rush to judgment before facts start coming out, right? And I'm not defending anybody that said anything wrong, but how many times do we see this? I mean, ultimately, this athlete had to defend themselves and put the truth out there. But before that, we're already into a different conversation that really shouldn't be a part of this conversation. It's genetic.
Yeah, there's a big difference between transgender and genetics.
Yep. Caster Semenya was the track star that Jay is referring to.
Okay. All right. If you want to talk about anything else going on in the world of sports or outside the world of sports, we're able to do that. Hope that you are having a very good Thursday. We're talking about the NFL and the new kickoff rule, which Ryan's on board saying, yes, I like it. Good move.
All for it so far. We'll see. It seemed like the players were enjoying it too. In fact, Devin Hester was interviewed on the sideline, and he's like, man, I wish, how can I get in there and try this? I wish I could try it now. See, he gets ready to go into the Hall of Fame.
One of the great kickoff specialists of all time, Devin Hester.
Yeah, you probably won't see. I mean, think about how legendary those returns are going to be if this rule progresses and this becomes the new norm for the NFL.
Another big item, the $4.7 billion NFL Sunday ticket decision was overturned today in federal court in a absolute gigantic decision. And now we have to see what's next. Let me read this. The court finds that the jury's damages awards were not based on the evidence and reasonable inferences. All right. But instead were more akin to guesswork or speculation. Plaintiffs must prove the reasonableness of each of the assumptions upon which the damages calculation is based?
I'm wondering, just pure speculation, how the judge came to this decision, knowing that the jury came to that award and making the inference there that it was not correct. This one seems like it's destined for appeal, but it's a shocker. 4.7 billion.
Yeah, the
NFL.
NFL's got to be breathing a sigh of relief right now.
Oh boy, yeah, it came out right before the Hall of Fame game started, so incredible news for them right there.
That is big news. So anyway,
absolutely,
that's another big part of the news. And then, of course, as Cody says, we've got the Hall of Fame inductions coming up on Saturday, and there's a list of all of the individuals that are going into the Hall of Fame. Dwight Freeney, Randy Gradishore, Devin Hester, Andre Johnson, Steve McMichael, Julius Peppers, Patrick Willis. Do I like it? Yeah, I like it. Steve McMichael's an interesting story. I actually covered him when he was with the Bears and part of that great 1986 Chicago Bears team and the Buddy Ryan defense. And he has Lou Gehrig's disease.
Yep. And
it's been beyond sad. Anyone that has that horrific disease, to watch an individual basically wilt their entire body. The only thing that doesn't is their mind. And I just watched the story on this the other night, and it just, boy, if that doesn't make an individual appreciate what they have, I don't know what will.
There's incredible advances that are happening that are improving quality of life for those people. But like you said, in fact, Coach Fisher's son, Mark Fisher, is also battling ALS. He has for about 10 years now. And it's hard to watch. I would argue one of the hardest diseases to watch somebody deal with for all the reasons that you just said, Grant.
It may be easy for me to say this without having any knowledge of what that might be like. But from a visual perspective, I would just wish somebody would put me in a chair or a car or whatever and just push me off a cliff. Like, I honestly, knowing my personality, I have great reservations on whether I could live like that and be happy. And the reason why I say that, there have been many stories. The player on the New Orleans Saints, forgive me right off the top of my head for
Steve Gleason.
Thank you very much. He has been such an instrumental figure in that region of the country, role model, inspiration. And when he communicates, he seems to be very grateful to be alive and being able to do what he's doing. That's why I started off by saying I can't in any way, shape, or form put myself in their shoes or have the perspective. But from a visual medium, that's just, to me, would be, I wouldn't want to go through that. But then when you listen to these stories and watch these stories, so many of these stories that we see, the one thing that comes across is they're grateful to wake up every day and live their lives. And I think that's unbelievable.
And in many cases, they're huge advocates for the disease. They are not just fighting for themselves. They see themselves as fighting for those that may deal with this in the future. It's incredible. To your point about Steve Gleason, the infamous blocked punt, he has a statue in front of the Superdome. That was the first game back after Katrina.
Amazing,
pretty cool. Pretty
very cool.
Amazing stuff. Not so amazing, Grant, for the Los Angeles Chargers and also the Tennessee Titans. DeAndre Hopkins, he is out with a knee injury, 4 to 6 weeks. And Justin Herbert, right foot injury, 4 to 6 weeks as well. They're hopeful both will be back for week 1.
I'm reading plantar fasciitis. His foot is in a boot, and they do expect him back in 1 week. Anyone that's ever had plantar fasciitis, that is, you cannot even walk across your bedroom.
Grant, correct me if I'm wrong. Peja played with that for a decent amount of time.
But there are different degrees of that ailment. All right. So in other words, there's I mean,
First
I don't
degree,
know in
second
medical
degree.
terms whether I would say grade 1, grade 2, or grade 3 like they do with I don't know that. But yes, there have been I mean, has not been that uncommon of an injury in basketball, that's for sure.
Nope. A lot of time on your feet. Tell you what, you got to take care of those puppies.
Hey, I want to tell you about New Works Plumbing for your plumbing needs and repairs. Make sure you get to sackserviceplumbing.com or call the number on your screen. They're available around the clock 24/7 for all of your plumbing needs and repairs. Again, that's sackserviceplumbing.com. New Works Plumbing, they've got a fix for you. And you need to go and check out this great residential community in Calusa. And if you go to calusasunrise.com, you'll get everything you need to know. This is a project from Blazona Development. 6 models to choose from, no Mellorews, no homeowners. Great location in Calusa, adjacent to the Calusa Golf and Country Club. You have really good access to the major arteries such as I-5, Highway 45, Highway 20. And again, if you go to calusasunrise.com, you'll get all the information you need. Get and check out Sunrise Landing.
Yes, indeed. Get out there. I know you're going to go check it out next time you are in town.
Yep.
I'm looking forward to that. Cody, good job bringing this up. That was a scary report coming out of Brown's camp.
Yes.
So he was helicoptered out, as Cody said. Too many people going down, Grant. We see it every single year.
Well, and we haven't even started the preseason for all intents and purposes. Tonight was basically a bonus game. So that means there's a lot more practices. Oh, and by the way, now we're going to start seeing the quote unquote controlled scrimmages where there's full head heavy contact where you're going to have injuries in those. And so it's the nature of the beast. It's part of the sport.
It's part of football. It's what you sign up for. There's no doubt about that. Let's see. Patrick getting in on the chat. AP asking about some baseball. Well, the Giants were pretty much sellers, and the A's, they're the A's. Any thoughts, Names?
Not really. I thought the Giants, they were one of those teams that were on the cusp. Are they going to be buyers or sellers? And I think they did the right thing. I didn't see them really having a legitimate chance to do anything. Yeah. So I don't have a problem with that.
Yep, I would agree with that as well. And you had an interesting rant this morning about one Simone Biles, who won the women's all around. She busted out, Grant, believe it or not, a goat necklace after winning the gold medal with 546 diamonds in it.
I'm okay with that. I mean, she probably is the GOAT. That doesn't bother me. I did a rant because I think it was unfortunate that she did not win with the grace and dignity that I expect from a great Olympian like her. There was no reason to do what she did to her former teammate, Makayla Skinner, who has went on social media and apologized for her comments on her YouTube channel. She apologized on July 6th and said, hey, I owe this team an apology. This is before the Olympics even started. So she was big enough to say, you know what? Okay, I made some comments I shouldn't have made. I apologize. I feel bad for it. And then Simone Biles and the team win, and that's the first thing she does is throw shade on Skinner. Why go there? You just won the gold medal. You actions speak louder than words. And unfortunately, I've seen this story pop up all too frequently since the great achievement by the women's gymnastics team. And I think it's taken away a little bit from their amazing accomplishment because you know how it is in this world of social media and everything else. That almost becomes front page news rather than the achievement. And I think that's unfortunate.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't disagree with you. Kevin Durant, we just talked about that a couple days ago. He's been notorious for it as well. And, Simone, don't forget, she's dealing with an injury or was dealing with a little bit of a dinged up calf. And then in the last Olympics, she had to pull out of some events because of the twisties. And so it was not a done deal that this thing was going to be a slam dunk for her, although she was clearly the best. So to me, if you got a problem with the comments, come out and address them right away. Why wait until the Olympics?
And the other aspect of this, which I think is highly unfortunate, and again, it's social media, so I don't think it's the real world, but, her husband is a professional football player, right?
Yes.
And he took photographs with her with the gold medal around his neck instead of her neck. And that bothered a lot of people. And I'm thinking, why would that bother people? Listen, if my wife won a gold medal, I'd put it around my neck too to see what it looked like and how it felt. And I would probably take a picture and post it as well. Does that mean I am undermining my wife's accomplishment or demeaning her? No, it's called being married and sharing in someone's success and or failures. What's wrong with that?
Absolutely nothing. That's one of those things you aspire to. Think about bringing home, Grant, your time with the Stanley Cup, getting to be around that, right? Does that, taking a picture with it, does that lessen it? No, it's just, people have to find something to beef with pretty much with anything these days, especially online. Whatever's going to get you the clicks, it is.
Absolutely. Now, you did bring up Kevin Durant, and I think it was yesterday or the day before. It was the day before I did a rant on him. He is unable to deal with any controversial, critical comments that he doesn't like. He's not able to deal with it. And so, for him to attack Keyshawn Johnson, who made a comment on FS1, speaking of a hypothetical, because he was on set with Paul Pierce, and said, if Paul had gone to the Golden State Warriors and played with Clay, Steph, Draymond, blah, 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 he would have won 2 more championships too. And he's right. He would have. And Durant is so damn sensitive, about that. I mean, it's just, he can't let anything go.
Napes, had you gone to the Warriors, you probably would have won a championship that year.
Well, I know one thing. They won a championship before Durant got there, and they won one after he left. So that's it. Scoreboard.
Exactly right. And what's amazing to me is usually, or at least the athletes that handle these things in a better way, there's layers there, right? And somebody as great as Kevin Durant, it's amazing that he can play the game at such a high level, but be cooked that much to publicly respond. If he's publicly responding, imagine what it's doing to him and how much real estate haters and detractors have in his head. It's insane. You got to get that cleared up. And
he's not going to get it cleared up. He's at the end of his career. It's he is who he is.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right.
It's mystifying to me. It just blows my mind. Hey, this weekend, folks, I got a great idea for you. Weekend brunch at Bennett's. You'll love it. All right, 3 locations, the West Side Grill in Rockland, Roseville, Sacramento. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com and you will get all the information. You can make a reservation and more. I love the brunch, Ryno, and I know you go there with your family sometimes. Prime seafood and steak at Bennett's. Don't forget about their happy hours daily, 2 to 6, their sips and taste. It's all there for you at Bennett's. Go to bennettsrestaurants.com. Their brunch menu is outstanding.
Incredible. You cannot go wrong. And your girlfriend, your wife, boyfriend, whatever, they will enjoy the champagne. It comes with the brunch if you do the special. By the way, shout out to Dennis. He was at Bennett's today.
Yes.
Hit the happy hour, got the fried chicken and ribs. Looks so good. Thanks for supporting it, Dennis.
Yeah, I saw that on social media and I gave it a like and I was like, way to go, man. I love that. Love that.
Good job.
Look who is joining us from overseas.
Oh, I can't wait. There was a little bit of a tennis controversy with Coco Gauff. We'll have to speak to our resident chair umpire from Serbia. Baki, welcome in.
What's up?
Hello, Baki.
What's up, brothers?
How you doing, man? I watched I've been watching some of the Olympic tennis just because I was at a restaurant and it was on in front of me. And the match that I was on in front of me was the Chinese gal beating the #1 seed in the Olympics in straight sets. And I was just like, wow. But go ahead.
That's the match I'm just looking at in my screen because today, the whole day, I was traveling from the Greece back to Serbia. So I missed a lot of stuff today. And I heard what happened with Djokovic, and I mean, unbelievable stuff. But let's not talk about Djokovic. We'll see tomorrow what will happen. I would like to ask Ryno. You mentioned those 3-on-3 basketball. So You mentioned it a few times, so I'm curious. Did you like it, or maybe you wanna know how do we think about it, or what do we
Uh,
think?
I think it is bad for basketball on the Olympic level. This is the world's greatest test of all the best athletes around the world coming together. And it looks like a glorified hoop it up tournament, Baki. It's just scattered, a lot of missed shots. There's not much structure to it. I think it's bad. Stick to the 5-on-5.
Yeah, for me, is looking very bad if you're watching like a basketball fan. If you're watching it, if you watch the game, just you said a lot of misses, a lot of not logical things on the court. I mean, okay, it can be interesting. There is a lot of fans on the court every night they play. Especially here in Serbia, they just love it. But you know why they love it, because they gonna win maybe gold, maybe silver. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm not one of them, because I mean, it's why do you need two same sports in one Olympics? And in the meantime, from the last Olympics, you missed the sport named karate. I mean, come on,
I know.
karate out of Olympics, and you have breakdance, and you have blah 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 spitting on
Stupid.
the, so stupid. But uh, I talked to some people who are very very close to Olympic community in the States. Vlade was president of the
Yep.
Olympic community in Serbia. You know
Yes,
that.
he was.
So I spoke to those people, and very interesting point about those, let's say, other sports in the Olympics, because they say very often happens that the people from all around the globe from other sports are
Yeah.
coming to Olympic communities and
Yep.
say, okay, we got our sport. Why shouldn't we have a sport on Olympics? Why is the privilege of the old sports, of the sports who are competing from 1898? So it can be really tricky if you are, let's imagine three of us are now in some kind of, okay, let's say that basketball 3-on-3. So we're gonna urge to enter the Olympics, of course. I mean, it is logical, but it's, I mean, what is the answer? So okay,
There is no answer other than the fact I think that we can
take all
all
the
there's
sports and put
yes.
it in. So we have uh, every 1 month you got new sport. Now, how
Yeah.
many sports you have from tennis now? You have
I know it's
pickleball,
crazy. Hey,
pickleball.
I want to interject something because
Yeah,
Vladi was the head of the Olympic Serbian committee, and we talk about Novak Djokovic. And for people that don't know, he felt something. He felt a sharp pain in the
yeah,
second set of his quarterfinal match, and he's being examined. We hope that he can play in the semifinals. But I think it was 2 Olympiads ago. Don't hold me to that, but I believe it was 2 Olympiads ago. Novak lost in the opening round of the
Mhm.
Olympics. And the first thing he did was go up to Vladi and apologize to him on behalf of the country.
Wow.
that's
Okay.
right.
He
That's true.
apologized. Vladi
That's
told me that. Vladi
Yeah,
goes, I'm
that's
like, come
true.
on. I'm like, come on. He goes, no, he apologized. And I'm like, you're kidding me. He goes, no, he absolutely apologized to me. And Vladi said, stop it. Don't,
Yeah.
you're a great ambassador for the country. You have nothing to apologize for. But I'm bringing this up is Novak's done everything you can possibly do in the world of tennis, but he has a void. And the void is he wants Olympic gold. And now he may not be able to do it. He may not even be able to compete. The knee was, for those that do not follow, after the French Open, he had knee surgery and he only had 5 weeks to get ready for Wimbledon. And then he
Incredible.
lost in the finals to Alcaraz. And now, he's had a lot of wear and tear on that knee. Normally you get a break between Wimbledon and the US Open. Well, not this year. and so the reason why I'm bringing this up is this could really put in doubt his appearance coming up in a couple of weeks in New York at the U.S. Open.
It is very similar. I've got from Greece in 11 p.m., so I got the time to talk one very very important man in the Serbian tennis. So he brought up a very interesting point that it is happening again, and it's happening on the clay. So if you put the parallel between the Roland Garros fourth round or quarterfinal and now Olympics, it's the same clay, it's the same court, and it's same kind of
Good point.
movements. You get the same kind of movements. It's
Which
not
is
the
interesting
same
to me because playing
slide.
on clay is easier on your legs and your joints when you think about it, right? I've played on clay before, and anyone that plays tennis will tell you that playing on clay is a lot easier on your legs, but maybe it's not
Yeah,
easier on your knees.
yeah, but I played on clay and on grass, but the shoes you are using to play on clay and on
They're flat.
grass are very different. So
Yes, they are
your
very, very different.
your balance when you are not moving too much is better on the grass than on the clay.
That's very
So
true.
so when you slide, it's
That's
quite
true.
different. It's quite different. And
You don't
Novak
have the
is the man.
stability. You don't have the stability when
Yes,
you're sliding on clay like you would
the
on grass. I think that's a
the
very good distinction you just made.
the problem with Novak is that Novak is relying on the sliding. So he
Yes,
slides too much on
yes.
the not will not say too much because this is his style of play. But if you put sliding on the court off
Yeah.
of the conversation, there is no Novak. He cannot play. He is it's just the style of that
I know. You're
player.
listen, I'm going
So
to cut you off here because now we're getting a little bit too intricate and I don't want to lose our audience. I understand what you're saying. Ryan understands what you're saying. You make a fabulous, fabulous point. You make a great point, but I think now we put it into people's heads what we're talking about. So I'm going to ask you now that you're back in Belgrade, if Novak has to pull out of the Olympics, I'm saying if he's not able to play in the semifinal match, will that be a big, big story in Serbia? Will that be like, oh my God, like how put it into terms for me? What type of a story will that be like in Serbia if Novak can't play in the semifinals?
well, I really don't know what to say. I mean, everybody are waiting. Probably they already did the MRI.
No, no, I
So
understand. I'm saying
yeah,
if his
if
knee,
if
if
it's
he's not
happened,
able to play, if he has to back out, how
yeah,
big of
yeah,
a
I
story will that
understand.
be?
Well, it's gonna be the biggest story of the Olympics for the Serbian team, definitely. But uh, what to say
That,
to then it's gonna start the stories. Is Djokovic will playing the next Olympics? It's 4 years. I don't
no
think
way.
so.
No,
I
No
don't know
way.
it.
He's going
I
to
this
be
don't
is
think
it.
41
so.
years old. There's no way he's playing in the
No,
Olympics in
no,
4 years. No way.
no. I mean that story is definitely off if this injury happened. Because if this injury happened, this is the this is the last sign of
I'll tell you the
ending
biggest story to
the
me where he
beginning of
beat now
the end.
Rafael Nadal and Andy Murray, who are basically Andy Murray just played his last tennis match of all time. He's retiring. You see Rafi can't play anymore. I mean, for all intents and purposes, he's contemplating retirement. You got to remember Novak is 37, and I'm putting the cart ahead of the horse here, Baki and Ryan. If he did more damage to his knee and he can't play in the US Open at his age, we may, with Alcaraz on the scene now and Medvedev, who's still been on the scene, and a couple of others, the Italian player, we may not, may not see Novak win another major.
Fabulous
That
point.
that definitely true. And you may see only one more season for Novak, and that's it.
Yep. Baki, great stuff. How was your vacation?
It was great, really great.
I'm happy for you, buddy. Welcome back to home, and thank you.
Thank you.
You brought some great knowledge to the program today, and I thank you for that.
Yeah, thank you, Baki. You know what else he brought, by the way, Grant?
What?
You weren't here for this. Tuesday, Jerry Reynolds Tuesday on the King's Court. Tedora was with us, and him and came up and gave Jerry a live holy moly Jim Bob Bowley, one of these
Holy
bad
moly,
boys.
Jim Bob Bowley.
And Jerry just about fell out of his seat. He loved it. So great job by you, Baki. Great job, Tedora.
All right.
Thank
Good
you
job.
a lot.
Indeed.
Thank you.
Well-
Thank you a lot, both of you.
Thank you, Baki. We love you, man. You're the best.
Appreciate you, brother.
I love you.
And he's, how could I not love the man? His birthday is June 18th.
Yeah.
All right.
Yes.
Just like mine. Good show today, Ryno. I appreciate it. And I am not going to be able to come on tomorrow at 8. So you have a good show tomorrow on the Ryans on the King's Court with Ryan and Sacktown folks.
Appreciate it.
Remember that's at 2:00. Easy for you to say. Now you know why that's not the name of my show. I wouldn't be able to do my show because I wouldn't be able to pronounce it. But the King's Court with Ryan, that's tomorrow at 2:00.
Appreciate that, Napes. Fun week. Can't wait to get back with you next week, bud.
All right. Take care, everyone. Thanks for joining us. And to those of you that called, we had some great calls today. I'm grateful for you. Don't forget to subscribe, give us a thumbs up,